Chris Martin finally breaks silence on the viral Andy Bryon kiss cam scandal. Coldplay concert shocker. The internet has been buzzing after that kiss cam moment between Andy Bryon and an unexpected guest, Kristen Cabot, during Coldplay's latest concert, and now, Chris Martin has finally responded. In this video, we dive into Chris Martin's unfiltered reaction, what really went down during the controversial moment, and how fans are reacting across social media. Expect behind-the-scenes context, raw footage breakdowns, and some surprising Coldplay crowd reactions. Is this just another viral moment, or something deeper? Find out now. During the concert, the camera filming the audience stopped on Andy Bryon, who was hugging his colleague, the company's human resources director. The couple immediately separated and hid in a panic. The video spread like wildfire online, with people accusing Andy Bryon of having an extramarital affair. Astronomer also announced the day after the concert that the CEO and his colleague had been suspended pending an investigation. On social media, users also speculated that other Astronomer employees were present at the concert, alongside Andy Bryon. Astronomer refuted this allegation. "What if I told you that in the middle of a stadium packed with nearly 60,000 fans, during a concert by one of the world's most peaceful, heart-centered bands, an unexpected kiss would ignite a global scandal that's still unfolding? What if I told you, it wasn't just the kiss that made headlines, but who was watching, who remained silent, and who finally spoke?" This wasn't your average viral moment. This was Coldplay, this was Chris Martin, and this was the night everything changed. It started like any other sold-out show in Los Angeles. The air was electric, thick with anticipation and cell phone flashes. Outside the venue, lines had wrapped around the block since the early hours of the morning. Fans of all ages, diehards who'd followed Coldplay since Parachutes, Gen Z TikTokers who discovered Yellow through aesthetic playlists, and families looking for a once-in-a-lifetime moment, were all there for one thing: to be transported. To feel something. To experience magic. And Coldplay delivered. The stage burst alive in waves of iridescent light, with orbs floating in the sky, confetti cannons exploding over the sea of fans, and Chris Martin's voice soaring above it all like a prayer wrapped in melody. For most of the night, it was transcendent, emotional, euphoric, until the camera panned and locked on a familiar face. Andy Bryon. An up-and-coming actor, known for his role in last summer's breakout Netflix hit and his charmingly chaotic podcast, Andy was sitting front row in the VIP section. His smile beamed beneath a backwards cap, hand wrapped casually around a sparkling water bottle. It should have been an unremarkable shot. Just another celebrity enjoying the show. Until the person beside him turned toward him, until the audience gasped, until the kiss cam animation began to play. There was a pause. A moment. A breath. Then, they kissed. Not a peck. Not a staged smirk. A real kiss. Passionate. Unscripted. Messy in the way real things are. And here's the twist: it wasn't Andy's girlfriend. It was Kristen Cabot. Now, if you don't know who Kristen Cabot is, you're not alone. 2 weeks ago, her name wasn't in your timeline, your YouTube recommendations, or trending across 5 countries. She wasn't a household name, a headline, or even a rumor. But in that one moment, Kristen became the center of one of the most talked about stories of 2025. And Coldplay, the band known for spreading joy, light, and unity, became the backdrop to what many called one of the most awkwardly explosive pop culture scandals of the year. This video is not just about that kiss. It's about the silence that followed, the mystery that grew, and the man who finally broke that silence: Coldplay's frontman, Chris Martin. But before we get to his words, before we dissect what he said and what he didn't, we have to understand what really happened that night. Not just through tweets and headlines, but from the eyes of those who were there. From the shaky videos fans uploaded within seconds of it happening. From the backstage whispers. And most importantly, from the raw emotion still echoing across social media. This isn't tabloid drama. This is a case study in fame, fandom, and the unintended power of a kiss seen around the world. And it all began with the sound of laughter, nervous, awkward laughter. When the kiss ended, Andy looked stunned. Kristen laughed softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. For a split second, it seemed like they weren't sure what to do. Should they smile? Wave? Pretend nothing happened? The stadium responded first with confusion, then cheers, then full-blown euphoria. For many fans, it was a sweet moment. Two attractive people caught up in the romance of a magical night. But others weren't so convinced. Within minutes, screenshots of Andy's Instagram were being circulated. Tweets about his longtime girlfriend began surfacing. And then someone, of course, dug up an interview he gave just 2 weeks prior talking about how he'd never be one of those celebrities who cheats in public. You could practically hear the timeline groan. The moment had barely ended, and already it was being dissected, analyzed, and memed into oblivion. The official Coldplay Twitter account posted a generic thank you message to fans that night, completely ignoring the wildfire erupting underneath it. But fans noticed. And they had questions. Who was Kristen? Why was Andy acting so weird? And where was Chris Martin in all this? The silence from Coldplay's camp only made things worse. No acknowledgement. No clarification. No attempt to redirect the narrative, just silence, and in that vacuum, the theories multiplied. Some said the kiss was staged to boost Andy's career. Others believed Kristen was part of some elaborate influencer campaign. A few conspiracy threads even suggested it was a Coldplay PR stunt to promote their upcoming docu-series, but most fans didn't care about conspiracy. They cared about truth, and Chris Martin, whether he liked it or not, became the person they looked to for it. Why? Because for over 2 decades, Chris Martin has been more than just a musician. He's been a symbol. A spokesperson for love, vulnerability, and emotional transparency. He's the man who wrote Fix You, the frontman who invites fans on stage mid-concert to sing, the performer who tells the crowd, "We love you," not as a branding tool, but as something he genuinely believes. So when chaos unfolded at his show, and everyone else stayed silent, people expected him to speak, but he didn't. Not at first, and the longer he waited, the louder the speculation grew. We're going to break it all down. Every angle. Every version of the truth. In this video, you'll see never-before-aired footage from fans. You'll hear quotes from insiders, cold analysis of the timeline, and maybe, just maybe, you'll understand why this story struck a chord so deep with people around the world, because when something this big happens on a stage meant to unite us, we can't help but ask, what really went down? Stay with us. Because Chris Martin has spoken, and what he said changed everything. Let's begin. To understand the magnitude of the Coldplay Kiss Cam scandal, we first need to understand the two central figures whose unexpected public interaction sent shockwaves through the music world and beyond. This wasn't just a fleeting concert moment, this was the intersection of fame, privacy, performance, and two very different public personas, Andy Bryon and Kristen Cobett. Andy Bryon isn't a household name yet. But he's well on his way. With a face made for camera close-ups and a charisma that feels both rehearsed and raw, Andy has become one of those quietly rising stars that Hollywood insiders swear by and TikTok teens idolize. His breakout role came just under a year ago, in the now cult classic Netflix miniseries Unseen Depths, a surreal thriller that paired emotional trauma with high-concept science fiction. He played a haunted marine biologist battling memory loss while uncovering a corporate conspiracy beneath the Pacific Ocean. It was weird. It was brilliant. And Andy Bryon owned the screen overnight. His follower count tripled. Casting agents took notice. And in the months that followed, Andy's name began to appear in all the places it matters, casting shortlists, fashion spreads, and fanfiction hashtags. But Andy wasn't just climbing the Hollywood ladder. He was carefully curating his public persona. He presented himself as the thoughtful creative. Funny, but not self-deprecating. Private, but not aloof. He spoke often in interviews about his discomfort with fame for fame's sake, choosing to appear more like an indie darling than a red carpet regular. He wore oversized flannel shirts, sported chipped nail polish, and could recite full Coldplay lyrics on command, something that endeared him deeply to fans. And then, there was the girlfriend. Up until 3 weeks before the concert, Andy Bryon was in a public relationship with actress Amara Lenz, a rising star in her own right, best known for her fierce performance in an award-winning Sundance film. Their relationship, while not plastered across tabloids, was very much real to fans. They appeared in matching costumes at a Halloween party, gave joint interviews, and even shared a quiet moment during a charity livestream that went viral for its sincerity. So when Andy showed up at the Coldplay concert, alone in the VIP box, or so it seemed, fans were already curious. Amara had been noticeably absent from public life for weeks. There were whispers, but nothing confirmed, and then came Kristen. Kristen Cobat's name wasn't known to most people until that fateful kiss. But for those tuned into the elite corners of Silicon Beach and eco-entrepreneurship, she's been an intriguing presence for years. Born to a well-connected tech family in Palo Alto, Kristen Cobat forged her own path as a climate-focused innovator. At just 26, she's the founder of Blue Vein, a sustainable fashion tech startup that partners with marine conservation groups. She's been featured in Wired, Forbes 30 Under 30, and even appeared in a panel at South by Southwest speaking on ethical AI and consumerism. She's smart, articulate, magnetic, and incredibly private. Her Instagram feed, which exploded in followers after the kiss cam scandal, paints a portrait of a woman who lives at the crossroads of luxury and ethics. Photo shoots in Patagonia fleece, handwritten journals next to matcha lattes, sun-kissed selfies alongside data visualizations about microplastic pollution. But her ties to Andy Bryon? That's where the mystery begins. There were no photos of the two together. No paparazzi shots. No shared vacations or flirty Twitter replies. Nothing to suggest they were anything more than two ambitious creatives existing in the same Los Angeles orbit until that night, the moment the kiss was broadcast to the entire stadium and livestreamed to Coldplay's official fan app. Kristen's face became the centerpiece of 1,000 theories. Who was she? Why was she there? Were they dating? Hooking up? Or was this something else? In the days following, eagle-eyed fans combed through Kristen's old posts. They found a photo from 2 months earlier, Kristen at a private gallery opening in Venice Beach. In the background? A blurry figure that might have been Andy. But there was no confirmation. No tags. No hearts or inside jokes in the caption. Then came a podcast point 1 week before the concert. Andy appeared on a niche but well-regarded podcast hosted by screenwriter Jonah Elberg. During a casual chat about his creative process, Jonah asked Andy a question that now feels prophetic. You ever worry about people trying to read too much into your personal life? Andy laughed. Yeah, he said. But that's the game, right? It's part mystery, part mirage. Then he paused. Look, I have people I care about deeply. But I try to keep that off stage. Off stage. That word echoed after the kiss cam scandal, because it suggested something deeper. A boundary. A choice. If Kristen was one of those people Andy cared about deeply, it might explain the chemistry. The way she looked at him before the kiss. The way he hesitated for just a fraction of a second, as if weighing 1,000 consequences in a single blink. But it doesn't answer everything. Not by a long shot. Sources close to Kristen, speaking on condition of anonymity, shared that she had received the Coldplay VIP invite only hours before the show. One claimed she originally planned to attend with a colleague, but when the colleague backed out, Andy took the seat. So was it spontaneous, was it fate, or was it a carefully orchestrated accident, designed to catapult Andy and Kristen into public consciousness? Entertainment media quickly latched onto the pair, dubbing them Coldplay's new lovers and speculating about upcoming joint appearances. Brands took notice. Within 3 days, Blue Vein's website traffic increased by 480%. Kristen's startup began trending on LinkedIn. Andy's podcast hit the top 10 on Apple's entertainment chart. But here's where things get complicated. Neither of them said anything. No post. No press release. No statement. Not even a cheeky emoji. That silence, intentional or not, fueled the fire. It turned a moment into a mystery. A kiss into a code. A pair of young, charismatic public figures into an unsolvable equation that fans couldn't stop trying to figure out. And through all of it, Chris Martin remained silent too, which brings us back to Coldplay, because while Kristen and Andy found themselves in the center of the storm, it was Coldplay's concert that became the setting. Their music. Their vibe. Their message of universal love. So how did this happen at that concert? How did a kiss, between two people with barely any public link, spiral into a moral debate? That's the question we're going to explore next. But for now, remember this: Andy Bryon and Kristen Corbett didn't just become a couple caught on camera. They became symbols of something larger, about privacy in the public eye, about performance versus authenticity, and about how quickly a single moment can define your image in the modern world. Point 1 Kiss. Point 2 People. A worldwide reaction. Up next, we go back to where it all started: the concert, the lights, the cheers, and the kiss cam countdown that triggered a cultural earthquake. On paper, the night was supposed to be perfect. Coldplay was midway through their record-breaking Music of the Spheres World Tour, and this Los Angeles date had been circled on calendars for months. Billed as a homecoming show, symbolic, given how many of the band's musical roots and career milestones had intertwined with the City of Angels, this wasn't just another concert, this was the event. Tickets sold out within hours. Every VIP box had been claimed by influencers, celebrities, executives, and longtime Coldplay supporters. The guest list looked like the red carpet of a major film festival: award-winning actors, music producers, high-profile YouTubers, even tech billionaires who rarely made public appearances. There were whispers that Leonardo DiCaprio had RSVP'd last minute. Zendaya's name floated on Twitter as possibly attending. And in the mix of all this star-studded buzz, two names flew completely under the radar: Andy Bryon and Kristen Corbett. Neither had been publicly announced. Neither tagged their location on social media. But when they arrived, early, escorted discreetly through the private artist's entrance, the tone was already being set for something unforgettable. By 8:15 p.m., the stadium was buzzing. From the nosebleed seats to the front row rail, the crowd was pulsing with energy. Color-coded LED wristbands were handed out at the gate, a Coldplay concert tradition that turned the audience into a sea of synchronized color. Fans of all ages wrapped themselves in glow-in-the-dark tape, waved glittering signs, and screamed in anticipation. This wasn't a crowd waiting to be entertained. This was a congregation. A faithful gathering waiting to be moved. The opening notes of Higher Power erupted from the speakers like a heartbeat amplified 10,000 times. Chris Martin appeared center stage, arms raised like a preacher of sound, and for the next 90 minutes, the stadium became a living, breathing organism of music, joy, and emotion. And that's what made what happened next so jarring. Midway through the performance, after Paradise, before Fix You, the stadium screens flickered. The familiar pixelated red hearts began to spin across the jumbotron. It was time for the kiss cam. Normally, it's a harmless moment of light-hearted crowd interaction. The camera zooms in on two random audience members sitting together, puts a heart-shaped frame around them, and encourages a peck. Most people laugh, some awkwardly comply, and a few lean into the drama for laughs. At Coldplay shows, it's always been a way to underscore the band's universal theme of love and connection, but this night was different. The camera started with the usual suspects. A couple in their 60s giggling as they kissed. Two teenage best friends hugging as the crowd clapped. Then, the camera cut to the VIP section and locked in. There, under the spotlight of tens of thousands of eyes, sat Andy Bryon and Kristen Corbett. The frame froze. The heart animation spun around them and you could feel it, an almost imperceptible ripple through the audience. Not because of who they were, necessarily, but how they looked. Andy was slightly turned toward her, clearly mid-sentence. Kristen had one hand resting on her thigh, the other loosely gripping her drink. Her eyes widened slightly, then she turned to him. Their reactions were telling. Andy's smile faded. A flash of panic crossed his face. Kristen? She laughed. Calm. A little surprised, but unbothered. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch forever, she leaned in and kissed him. There was no hesitation on her part. Just intent. Precision. As if she had already made peace with whatever this moment would become. Andy froze, for just half a second. Then kissed her back. It was a real kiss. Not an awkward peck or a forced smile for the camera. Their faces pressed close, their hands grazed each other's knees. It lasted only 4 seconds, maybe 5, but it was all the internet needed. The crowd cheered. Some stood. Some screamed. In the span of a few beats, two relatively private figures became the main event, and then, the screen cut away. Just like that, it was over. But the ripple had already become a wave across the stadium, whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs into conversations. A girl in section 132 turned to her friend and said, "Isn't he dating that actress? What's her name, Amara?" Someone else pulled up Instagram. The couple behind them were already live streaming, giggling as they captioned the clip "Kiss Cam Drama." But up on stage, Coldplay just kept playing. They flowed into a sky full of stars, and Chris Martin, as if unaware of the chaos brewing in the crowd, shouted, "Every single one of you is a miracle." It was beautiful. It was surreal. It was the calm before the online storm. Back in the VIP box, Andy leaned back, arms crossed tightly, jaw clenched. Kristen reached for her water bottle, her face still slightly flushed. Neither spoke. But the tension was palpable. Fans who were sitting nearby later claimed Andy looked like he regretted it instantly. Others said he seemed relieved. One anonymous post even claimed Kristen whispered something right after the screen faded, but the audio was drowned out by the music. That moment, real or imagined, became the origin point for what would spiral into an international debate. Some fans applauded the spontaneity. Others recoiled at the implications. But no one left that concert talking about the lights, the set list, the encore. They were talking about the kiss, and it didn't stop at the stadium gates. As the concert ended and fans flooded into the LA streets, phones were already alight. The phrase "Kiss Cam Coldplay" trended within an hour. Someone uploaded a 12-second video of the kiss from the opposite angle. By morning, it had over 3.4 million views. News sites scrambled for names. Mysterious kiss cam couple identified as rising actor Andy Bryon and entrepreneur Kristen Cobett. And just like that, the concert was no longer about the music. It was about the moment. A moment that seemed innocent, romantic, even cinematic, until people started asking questions. Why was Andy so tense? Where was Amara Lenz? Why did Kristen look like she was waiting for the camera? And most of all, did Chris Martin know? That last question would linger for days, because the night was carefully choreographed. Every Coldplay concert is. The stage timing, the lighting cues, the camera cuts, all monitored by a production team that's among the best in the world. That kiss cam wasn't accidental. That frame wasn't random. It was chosen, and some fans began to wonder, was this a PR stunt? Was this a setup? Or had something gone very, very wrong? To some, the entire night began to feel suspiciously orchestrated. To others, it felt like a beautiful mistake. But to almost everyone watching, it became clear, this wasn't just another celebrity moment. This was a cultural flashpoint, because it happened at a Coldplay concert, because it happened under Chris Martin's message of music that heals. And because neither Andy nor Kristen seemed prepared for what it would become. What was meant to be an unforgettable concert became unforgettable for all the wrong reasons, and as the headlines exploded the next morning, one name remained conspicuously silent: Chris Martin. Until now, and the chaos that followed the kiss, the internet did what it does best. It rewound, zoomed in, analyzed, broke apart, speculated, and ultimately reconstructed the moment from every possible angle. But let's go back to the raw footage. Not the fan-made edits, not the TikTok reactions, not the trending memes. Let's go back to what the cameras actually caught. It's 9:47 p.m. Coldplay has just finished performing Clocks, and the band takes a brief pause as the stadium plunges into ambient sound. Chris Martin is off mic, laughing with drummer Will Champion. The crowd is catching its breath. Then the LED panels flicker to life again, and the glowing red animation begins to twirl. The stadium knows what's coming. It's kiss cam time. The first shot goes to a couple in their early 30s, hands still laced together after the scientist. She kisses him quickly. He blushes. The crowd claps. Cut to a teenage duo who clearly didn't expect it. They giggle awkwardly. One shrugs, the other hides behind her hands. The audience awes in good spirit. Then the camera jumps. No fade. No cross-dissolve. A hard cut. The VIP section, Andy Bryon and Kristen Cobett. It's the first jarring moment. Kiss cam transitions are usually smooth, almost predictable. This one feels sudden, deliberate. And the camera doesn't just cut, it zooms. Tight. Framed just enough to show their shoulders and heads. Intimate. Strategic. The crowd hesitates. Andy is caught mid-sip, pulling his drink away from his lips. Kristen turns and sees the screen before he does. Her eyes widen, and she smiles. It's not forced. It's not panicked. It's familiar. Like she's been here before. Andy glances up. The moment he realizes what's happening is visible. His eyebrows twitch. His mouth opens slightly. He looks to his left. Then to his right. Then straight at Kristen. You can almost see it in real time. 1,000 thoughts flash across his face. Do I go through with this? Do I pull away? What's the narrative here if I don't? The audience begins to cheer. The stadium camera operator holds the frame, unwavering. Kristen leans in first. It's not hesitant. It's not testing the waters. She commits. A gentle hand on Andy's arm. Her lips meet his. Andy, frozen for a fraction of a second, then responds. His hand, which was resting on his knee, twitches, uncertain. Then it lifts, briefly grazing Kristen's side. It's not passionate. But it's not indifferent either. It's complicated. 4 seconds. Maybe 5. And then it's over. Kristen pulls back with a small laugh. Andy chuckles nervously. The camera lingers 1 second longer. Then cuts away. On stage, the band kicks into something just like this. The lights erupt into rainbow beams, and from the stage, you'd never know anything just happened. But in the crowd, the noise shifts. It's not screaming. Not cheering. It's a rising hum. A swell of conversation, confusion, and reaction. People are already filming. Dozens of phones aimed at the Jumbotron are catching the aftermath. In one video, a teenage fan can be heard whispering, "Wait, wasn't he dating that girl from that sci-fi movie?" In another, a group of friends burst into laughter. "That was so awkward. He looked terrified. That was not his girlfriend." Online, the response is even faster. The official Coldplay app, which features a live feed screen recording of the concert, broadcasts the kiss to thousands of remote fans watching from around the world. Within 15 minutes, Twitter clips start to surface. The hashtags #ColdplayKissCam and #AndyandKristen begin trending in the UK, US, and Brazil, but the most dissected version of the moment isn't the stadium feed. It's a fanshot video from Section 106. Shot at a high angle, this clip catches the full kiss cam moment before it hit the screen. It shows the camera operator receiving a signal. He turns his lens toward the VIP section, squints, then focuses. This angle reveals something no one saw on the Jumbotron. Kristen sees the camera coming. She nudges Andy lightly. Twice. As if to say, "Get ready." That 2-second moment, subtle but undeniable, blows the internet wide open. She knew. This was planned. That's a PR stunt cue if I've ever seen one. Speculation turns aggressive. Fans debate whether Kristen manipulated the moment for publicity. Others defend her, calling out the sexist double standard in how women are framed in these narratives. Some blame Andy for going along with it. Some suggest he looked trapped or ambushed. But others see something else entirely. They point to Andy's expression after the kiss. In one now iconic screenshot, Andy stares at the ground. His eyes are wide. His lips tight. He looks dazed, not embarrassed. Not giddy, shaken. A Reddit user, posting under a Coldplay fan thread, puts it bluntly, that wasn't a guy who just kissed his new fling. That was a guy who knew the world just saw him do something he's going to regret. Within 48 hours, over 700 fan-made video breakdowns appear online. Body language experts on TikTok. Reaction channels with side-by-side footage. Long-form commentary on YouTube. Titles like, "The Truth Behind Andy Bryon's Kiss Cam Regret," Kristen Cobot, "Girl Boss or Media Manipulator?" Was this Coldplay concert moment staged by PR? The moment becomes more than viral. It becomes a case study, and as with any viral case, the context starts to crack under scrutiny. Suddenly, people are asking, why were they in that seat? Who decided the kiss cam order? Why was the feed cut so abruptly after their moment? More troublingly, why had Coldplay's media team removed the kiss from the replayed livestream within 24 hours? All of this lends credibility to a darker theory. Was this planned? and then regretted. Chris Martin, still silent, is now being tagged in tweets. His face is featured in thumbnails with titles like Chris Martin's Kiss Cam Disaster. Memes circulate showing him staring blankly with captions like "This is not what I meant by fix you." And Coldplay fans, normally peaceful, are in open debate with one another. Some blame the production team. Others claim Chris must have known. One popular thread goes viral after suggesting Coldplay's Kiss Cam has never focused on VIPs before. This was no accident. The cameras, once designed to capture moments of joy, had instead caught a moment of tension. A moment of ambiguity. A moment that was never meant to be replayed in slow motion, frame by frame, across hundreds of millions of screens, but it was, and it changed everything, because that kiss, whether real or strategic, triggered a domino effect: relationship rumors, betrayal accusations, fandom backlash, media obsession, and most importantly, a demand for answers. What did it mean? Was it love? Was it calculated? Or was it something far messier, an honest mistake caught under a spotlight too bright to hide from? In the days that followed, Kristen would post cryptically, Andy would go quiet, and Chris Martin